sticking with the trend of centers right now, let's talk about Nick Richards. He put up 24 points, 14 rebounds as the Charlotte Hornets advanced to now a 2-2 record. Now, Nick Richards isn't really a guy that you can project a high ceiling for at this point because of his age. He's 26 years old. But I think that he is a really good center for the Charlotte Hornets, and a lot of the attention gets taken away from him because they have another even better center in Mark Williams. Now, I'm not going to argue that at this point Mark Williams has a higher upside because he absolutely does. And I think it's just more so a disservice to Nick Richards that we don't mention him enough for what he's done the past 2 years especially. He's played 65-plus games in both years. That first year he averaged 8 points, 6 boards. Then last year was almost 10 points and 8 rebounds. And those are the first years that he's really got minutes because his first 2 years with Charlotte, he wasn't really getting many minutes. And, with a guy like Mark Williams, he's dealt with injuries for the Charlotte Hornets at the center position. Well, he might have the higher upside. When he's dealt with injuries, Nick Richards has been able to get more minutes, and he's come in, and he's consistently produced. He's been a really solid center for him. And this year, he's actually averaging 13.5 points and 11.8 rebounds on 30 minutes a game. Now, I don't think Nick Richards is going to ever be a star in this league, especially because he's 26. He's just now really coming into his prime as an NBA player, and as a result, you can't project much more for him than what he's doing right now. However, I think Nick Richards has the capability to be a really good center for pretty much any team, and Charlotte Hornets aren't going to be that. I think he can be a good low-end to middling starter, and that's not a disservice to him to say he's going to be a low-end to middling starter, because 99% of basketball players in the world, they would aspire to be a low-end starter in the NBA. So for Nick Richards to even do that, that's great. I think that he is a very underrated center in this league, and he can be a quality backup too behind Mark Williams. But for the Charlotte Hornets, you're not really going anywhere at this point, right? I think Nick Richards could do a lot in terms of a win-now team. The Charlotte Hornets have a great rebuild going on around Mark Williams, around Brandon Miller, and around LaMelo Ball. However, I think that Nick Richards, with the fact that he's 26 years old and just really entering his peak right now, I think that he could go to a team that's looking to contend and be a good piece, much like I said for Dennis Schroder earlier. Because Schroder's a guy that's just now really exiting his prime in terms of his age. Nick Richards is just now entering it. These are both guys that I think could go to a championship team, and Nick Richards could be a really quality backup for a championship team. What I'm saying here is I think Charlotte is a bad situation for him because on a low-end team like Hornets are, and that's not a bad thing because they're rebuilding. That's kind of their goal at this point, just to develop the young guys. On a low-end team like the Hornets, Nick Richards, I think, would serve best as a starter, but he's not going to be a starter because Mark Williams is there. But I think Nick Richards, if he really wants to, just put up production, he needs to be a starter on a low-end team. However, as a quality backup, which he's being right now for the Hornets, he's better served on a championship contender. And so I would love to see Nick Richards go somewhere like the Celtics, who could use some depth. I would love to see Nick Richards over there. And I think he can be a quality backup center on a lot of teams in the league, especially ones looking to have championship aspirations. I think Nick Richards can be really good for those teams. And I would love to see him on somewhere like the Boston Celtics. Not that they need much help, though. They've got a stacked roster already. And, Kristaps, he deals with injuries, so it might even be the same thing if Nick Richards is able to come in and be a low-end starter if he was to go to Boston. And, hey, that's perfectly okay because you got Drew Holiday, you got Derek White, you got Jaylen Brown, you got JT around him. So, Nick Richards, I think the Celtics would be a great fit for him in terms of if he had to be a low-end starter while Kristaps was hurt, or if he was just that quality backup, which I think he could thrive in for Boston. And he's doing that now in Charlotte, but they're not going anywhere in terms of where Nick Richards can really help you. I think he can help a championship contender, and I would love to see him go somewhere else.